Their focus on recruiting what has been called the old friends on Wall Street has been incalculably important to the Chinese Communist Party's whole agenda, because it has enabled them to have us bankroll their unrestricted warfare against us, among many other things. I mean, you go through the litany of horribles of what they're up to. Things, for example, like the Belt and Road Initiative. They're making these payday loans that are in fact colonizing, at my last count, something like 145 countries around the world, paying for infrastructure to be built with their financing, which then winds up being something that, like payday loans,
with loans that will never be paid back, which then default to ownership by the CCP.
Which means foreclosure on the assets, which means that you have now colonial presence and, as you say, dual use power projection options worldwide. That money, a good part of it at least, I think, is coming from the estimates vary, $3 to $6 trillion. Trillion dollars that has been moved by Wall Street, their old friends there, Larry Fink of BlackRock being a prime mover in this, from the American investing public, pension funds, 401k plans, exchange traded funds, index funds, mutual funds, and the like, from America, from patriotic investment purposes and others, to our mortal enemy, the Chinese Communist Party. This is continuing. Larry Fink not so long ago said we ought to triple the amount of investment we're making there. And this is essentially, I think, the United Front or the Ministry of State Security or the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Liberation Army, whoever you want to say is running this thing. It is of immense help to them in enabling them to try to destroy our country. And it has to stop.
Well, and there's this other element that, frankly, many people don't realize. They imagine that money is kind of interchangeable, right? So, but the thing is, once that money goes into China, that money is very, very hard to get out, right? In fact, when people try, it's almost impossible. So it kind of exists on paper for the companies that are doing the investing, but they don't actually have it.
They don't have it certainly in the form of actual shares of the companies they're investing in, some of which, by the way, have been sanctioned by the United States government, either because they are directly involved in the military threat buildup from China or humanitarian abominations that the Chinese Communist Party, and genocide and organ harvesting and all the rest. But notwithstanding the fact that they're sanctioned by the government, it's still possible to invest in them. The problem is you can't actually own a piece of the company for whatever that's worth. You get a share in some virtual entity in the Cayman Islands, which gives you no recourse at all when the Chinese simply say, sorry, you've just lost your money. We've just closed that company, or we've just turned it into something else. And that's without what's coming, Jan. If we are actually, no kidding, at war with China, those $3 to $6 trillion are written off. They're just gone. And the people who will be affected will not be so much Larry Fink or Ray Dalio or Steve Schwartzman or any of these other masters of the universe on Wall Street. They'll be Americans, American pensioners. And now they've gotten their mitts on, if you can believe this, federal government employees, military as well as civilian. They're moving their money into companies that are building weapon systems with which to kill those men and women in uniform. And Wall Street sees no problem with this. They say, well, as long as it's not illegal, we're going to continue to do it. What about betraying your country? What about contributing to its destruction? Do you have no interest? Do you have no concern? Do you have no responsibility to avoid that? I think they do. I think if they don't, I think if they persist in it, it is treason, for God's sake. And it ought to be treated as such.